We have everything looking good, working on the site. Scroll, the smooth scroll, the scroll spy. We have the video modal. We have this iframe in here. We have a way to click out of it. And I think right now is a good time to talk about, to keep going into positioning. So remember, we've seen before, like, we know how to center text in inline elements. We say, text align center, as we can see right here with the home page. And we know how to center horizontal rules, or I'm sorry, we know how to center block elements, which a horizontal rule is an example of that, by giving it a margin on the left and a margin on the right of auto. So let's look at this modal here. So as we just said, you can center, so this modal dialog, you can center block elements in the middle, on the x-axis, left to right, by giving margin left and margin right of auto. Okay, so that's what they've done here. And the one thing, though, is I don't want to center it just left and right, is I want to center it top to bottom, okay? And you can't do that by just saying auto. Okay, so now it just gives no margin at the top, and it keeps it center here. All right, so how do we do that? Well, first we're going to go ahead and take this out, and I want to take this margin out too. All right, so this is called, I'm going to show you how to center an absolute element. So let's just do this. So if you had these margins in here, and we did have it 30 pixels auto, this also come in handy later if you ever want to center an absolute element, because as soon as I change this to absolute, that left and right margin no longer works, okay? So we're going to take this away again like we just had it. So to center an absolute element, okay? First of all, we have to make sure that it's in relationship to its parent element, or we have to make sure what its parent element is. So this modal fade in, I can look at it and I can see that it's the whole width of the screen just by looking at it of top 0, right 0, bottom 0, left 0. So it's all the way to the left, it's all the way to the right, it's all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom of the screen. Okay? Now, we looked over here, and last time when let me show you here. Last time when we did the absolute positioning of this, the footer had to have a position of relative, which isn't always the case when you're doing absolute positioning. When you're doing absolute positioning, all we need is the parent element, let's see where it says this. See, an absolute position element is positioned relative to the first parent element that has a position other than static. Okay, well, we are working on modal dialog here. Okay, that's what we just made these changes to with the margin and changed it from position relative to absolute. And the first parent element is this, div with a class of modal fade and in, ID my modal. And let's see what type of positioning it has. Position fixed. So, good news, it doesn't have a position of static. So automatically, this modal dialog, since it has a position of absolute, it's going to be positioned relative to the parent element, because it's not the parent element of this, because this position is not static, it's fixed. Okay, and we know that this goes the full width of the screen, which is awesome because I want to center it in the middle of the screen. So what we're going to do is, they're as easy as this, is saying modal dialog, position absolute, we have it right there. Boom, boom, and we're going to say left 50%. All right, so that doesn't look right at all. But what you're seeing is that it starts it right here. Let me show you this here. See, it's right here in line with the middle of the site. So that the middle of the site, this code.org is centered. It's right here in the middle of this code.org. So we can see it come up. And what we want it to do is, instead of starting it all the way on the left here, we want to start it right in the middle here, okay? So what we can do is, remember, with margin left, it's going to push it to the right, correct? So we're moving it 5 pixels, 10 pixels to the right, which the crazy thing is we can actually do the opposite too, and we can get it to move. We can give it a negative margin left and get it to move to the left. So if we want it to center in the middle of this element, what we want to do is we want to look at the width of this element, and we see right there, see how when I scroll over it, that modal dialog turns blue, and at the bottom it says div.modal/dialog 600 pixels, a little hungry, by 347 pixels. So half of 600 pixels is what we want to give it a margin left of, and we want it to be negative. So we're going to do negative 300 pixels. Boom, we have it centered left to right. Awesome. Now we want to center it top to bottom. So we do the same thing, top 50%. All right, and then we're going to say margin top, negative, it's 347 pixels. Let's divide that by 2. So 173 pixels. We'll go ahead and round down. 1 pixel is not going to make a big difference. And boom, it's right in the middle of the page. So, and to get a better effect of this, as soon as I take that away, it's right in the middle of the page. So boom, boom. So we've centered it top to bottom. And once again, the reason why it's in the middle is because this div right here spans the whole width and height of the page. So now you know how to center absolute elements from left to right and top to bottom. And I like the way that looks, especially because, you know, as we change this, it's going to be in the center of the page no matter what the width is. All right, I really like that. Looks good. Let's go ahead and move this over. And I'm still developing over here on the Dropbox page. It doesn't matter which one you're developing on, just so we can see the YouTube video. So what all did we change? We changed modal content, no, change modal dialog. Sorry about that. So let's go ahead and grab this. We'll go ahead to delete width and margin here. Awesome, and it looks great. Congratulations, guys. We now know how to center absolute elements, whether it's on the x-axis or the y-axis, and let's move on to the next lesson. By the way, all this stuff we're doing right now is quite complex, and I didn't learn this until years down the road of doing HTML and CSS. So if you're just picking this up with no problem, congratulations, you're doing an excellent job. If you have any questions, I completely understand. Like I said, these are some complex subjects. So go ahead and shoot me any questions. I'm here to answer them. And appreciate you guys again for taking the course. Let's move on to the next lesson.